Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Deb Talks. This week, we have Cody from the Unbreakable Breath, movement that he is organizing here in our local area, Kelowna, British Columbia. And I'm very privileged to have him because this was very kind of short notice. We were introduced through a very good friend of mine. And when I looked at all the things that Cody's doing, I just loved it. And I thought, wow, it would be so cool if we can get him to talk to us a little bit about his journey and how he came to this, to be offering this breathing kind of circle, I guess, to people. And and how it can even help us. We can learn something today. So without further ado, here's Cody. Please introduce yourself to us, Cody. You've got a few minutes, just wherever you would like to start. Introduce yourself as a person, what led you to this breathing techniques, and then we can take it from there.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on today. Thanks for having the time to hear my story and hear a little bit about the power of breathwork. My name's Cody Fisher, founder of Unbreakable Breath. Where do I begin? I guess begin with letting you guys know about my journey and my struggle through life, as you could put it. My mom passed away when I was a young child, and I grew up in a quite abusive home with my father. Since my mom passed, I'd always had such a deep, pitted feeling of hopelessness, of loneliness. I mean, she died, and I didn't know how to fill that void. Anyways, fast forward through most of my adulthood, I lived a life of addiction and depression, hopelessness, loneliness. You know, that's not to say that I didn't have some pretty amazing times in my life. I've been on some great adventures. I've traveled lots. I've had great relationships. But that trauma that was set inside of me, I had no idea how to be in a relationship, how to even keep friendships.
Yes. How old were you, Cody, exactly?
I was 7 years old.
Yeah, the formative years are still happening.
Exactly, right? So when I moved out of home when I was 17 years old, I immediately got into binge drinking all the time. My grades dropped. I just, instead of going to college, I went and worked in the oil patch, and then just lived a perpetual cycle throughout my 20s and early 30s of alcoholism, drug addiction, which ended up leading also to a really intense gambling addiction as well, which culminated in the last couple of years. I became very suicidal, and I became very suicidal for a couple of years. I tried on numerous occasions, probably at least half a dozen, to take my own life. But last year, just before Christmas, I had my most, successful attempt. But I was found outside. It was during a cold snap here. And I died on the way to the hospital, but they continued CPR on me and got me on life support. And then when I came to Christmas Day, I ended up staying in the hospital for close to 6 months. And as a result, to recover, yes. And as a result, physically, I lost both of half my feet. They were amputated to stage 4 frostbite. Yeah. But my physical injuries were really the least of my problems. I became a lot sicker emotionally and mentally while I was in the hospital.
Yes, because also there you wouldn't have got your drugs and stuff like alcohol, and now you're in the hospital, and you probably couldn't do much movement because you had lost, toes on both of your feet. So you had to learn how to balance, how to walk, and all that stuff. So I would imagine that you're struggling through a lot because you're also having to get rid of that addiction. That's, you have to face yourself because there's nowhere, you can't harm yourself. You can't, you have to face that deep stuff that you've always avoided and try to fill up with alcohol and drugs.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the thing too. And since I've been in this perpetual site of suicidal ideology, I've been like, somebody needs to fix me, right? Like I had no idea what to do, or even willing
Yes.
to put in the effort, so to speak. But when I was in the hospital, it was just more drugs, more drugs, more drugs,
Yes.
right? And that's the thing about the drugs is, they dampen you emotionally and interfere with your ability to feel,
Yes.
to
Well, I guess
actually.
in that time they're trying to help you as best they know how, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And for me, that wasn't working. And
Yes.
throughout my adult life, I've been medicated. Um, I've been diagnosed with depression, major depression, ADHD for years, borderline personality disorder, whatever else. And throughout the years, I always felt like I got sicker while I was taking the antidepressants, the antipsychotics, the ADHD meds.
Yeah. Well, they have
So
massive side effects, right? That's why I think
exactly.
antidepressants really they are good to use as a bridge until you can wean
For
yourself off
sure.
and then do something that's healthier for you. But it's really
Yeah.
hard out there to navigate when people are suffering and they're feeling like, you're every day you're feeling sick or tired or hopeless in your life. It's really hard to know that you have the power to get out of that. And it's like what you said just earlier on, like you were so hopeless in your life that you didn't even know that you could do something to help yourself. Like at that point in the game, everybody just thinks they have no power left. But the good news is that we always have the power to choose
Always.
something new, something different. It doesn't matter how deep you think you've, got into something, how far you've fallen. As long as you're breathing, there's still hope. And that means that you can change your mind and you can choose something different. And that's your power.
Exactly.
And that's probably what you did. You chose
That
something different somehow.
that
Because
is what I
you're
did.
running these breath circles and they are powerful.
They are, yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit how that came into being.
Yeah. So I ended up leaving the hospital and heading to a men's residential recovery center for addiction. Great place. And I was still very hopeless when I was here.
Yes.
I was mostly in a wheelchair. I was still unable to be on my feet often. I was still very hopeless. And the plan, I was still determined, hey, like, when I get the chance, I'm
You're
gonna,
gonna try
try
and
to
check out.
try and check out again. Yeah.
Yeah.
But through finding community, and then the resources they had here, I started to gain a little bit of inspiration to try. And then I was encouraged, for the last couple of years, I have practiced pranayama breath, like some box breathing and nadi shodhana, and different techniques with that. But that only provided me at times with, that really short-term catharsis where I was just, it was just an escape for me for a bit. And then as soon as I was done with it, it was back to that feelings again. So, but I was encouraged, obviously, with my physical injuries to find, something that I could really lean into with my story and to help people with. So, I thought, there's got to be more to this breathwork stuff. So I started doing some research and I came across what these we call and what I guide these transformational breathwork journeys. And I did one and it rocked me to my core. Like I did my first one and it was instantly like I was done it, and that feeling of hopelessness, that feeling of despair, that loneliness, it was gone. Like completely gone.
Was it
And
that a
that's not
20-minute session or an hour?
It's about an hour.
That's the hour session, yes. Because what happens is when you're doing this breathing session for 1 hour, it's kind of like the ayahuasca experience. It takes you beyond the logical mind, so into the pure consciousness. So when you're doing this breathing techniques, it doesn't matter really which one, but particularly you found this one. So you're doing that for an hour, you're getting out of that logic mind where the depression is, whether I want to kill myself is, where my life sucks, I'm hopeless. It takes you outside of that and into the pure consciousness that you are. And when you touch that pure consciousness that you are, then you know who you are. Then all these other things who are not you, that you thought was you, that you judged yourself by, that you thought you're unworthy of life, you're unworthy of love, all that stuff goes away because they are not true. But you don't know that, because if you only ever get stuck on that logical mind, you never know your true self. And it's not just you, it's all of us. And like what you said earlier on, you know, your mind took you to all these places. Everybody's in that same boat because we don't know that we are more than our thinking patterns. And these techniques, and like I said, there are many various tools in the world that we can use. But for me, breath is one of it's so close to my heart. I love it so much because I understand and I have experienced the transformation that can happen. And so when I heard your story, I was like, wow, that is incredible that you can get this type of relief that you've been struggling for your whole life. You've come so close to death. And then this 1 hour breathing technique will change your life.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, based on my experience, I firmly believe that, breath work has the, potential to transform somebody's life, not in a year, not in months, but immediately.
100%. 100%.
For sure.
Okay. So tell us then a little bit. So you experienced the breath.
Yeah. So I experienced it, and, I sat with that for a little bit, and I thought, why, what the heck? Like, why do more people not know about this? Like, why, you know what I mean? Like, why isn't this out there in the world? If it's just, that's for me,
that's what's going on. I tell you something, that when you find something that's so amazing because it was the right time for you, then you just like, you look around, it's like, why isn't everybody doing this? I'm the same, like, because I actually, one of my first turnarounds in my life was also through breath and meditation and yoga. And yoga has been the one thing that I've been doing. It just is my thing, right? And then I always think, it's like, why isn't everybody doing this? Why are people not lining up to come and do this yoga? Because it's so good. Like, people complain about their health and their mental, physical, and emotional wellness. I'm like, come to yoga. All those things will disappear, but they don't come. And then I realized that everybody has their own path and everybody has their own tool that's going to rock them. And it doesn't really matter what the tool is, as long as they connect with their true self.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the goal in all this, is just gaining more awareness, right?
Correct.
So, but yeah, this breath work is quite an amazing thing. It's like you had mentioned earlier, like ayahuasca, a lot of people reported, and I can honestly report from my experience, it is like an LSD like experience.
Yes, it is, because we have it in our own bodies available to do that.
Exactly.
But we don't know how to access it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I always say too, like, you were the healer and your breath is the medicine.
Yes.
So, I mean, this, it's nice too that science is starting to come out and backing a lot of the benefits of breath work and these modalities.
Yeah, they have been for quite a few years now. It's slow, but it's speeding up a little bit now. I can see that. Even I interviewed somebody about plant medicine last week or the week before. And it's just great to see how many more people are trying, because the medical industry, they're trying, but a lot of these medications that people take make them more sick. So people are going towards plant medicine and then finding that they have the capacity within themselves to heal. It's just to connect with that.
And I firmly believe, like, what drugs don't teach us is that lasting lesson of self-regulation, right? It can help, like, control our feelings and behaviors, but it always comes at a price, because there's so many negatives. It's like, maybe it helps one thing and upsets 9 other things in your body. It's like, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
it blocks the chemical systems that regulate like our engagement and motivation and pain and pleasure, right?
correct.
And I mean,
I always
that's what
look
the human experience is all about, is
is to
not
feel
just feeling,
things.
but feel, like really
Yeah,
feel.
exactly.
So,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that in life, we don't want to feel negative emotions or feel sadness, and it's part of our experience. You can't avoid
mhm,
it. And there's nothing
no.
wrong if you're feeling it. So we don't need medication all the time to regulate our feelings. Like, we can regulate ourselves. The body
Mhm,
has the capacity. I always am amazed, Cody, that people get so like, oh wow, look at elephants, or look at tigers or leopards or whale, all these different animals that they keep saying they've
mhm.
got. Have you looked at your body? Have you looked at yourself? Do
Mhm.
you understand what you have? We have no idea.
No.
And everything else is better than us. And like you said earlier on, you're always looking for somebody to give you the answer outside of yourself. You always
Mhm,
thought it needs to be. And even when your mother passed away at 7, you were like, well, somebody has to give me love and protection. And if I don't get that from a person, I'm going to try it from drugs or alcohol.
mhm.
And you probably learning now that everything that you ever needed, you already have, and that you can
Yeah,
give it to yourself. Yes.
mhm. It's inside
So
of me.
it's
Yeah.
everything is, you already come fully built with everything that you will ever need. There's nothing outside of yourself that you
Yeah, and
need.
I honestly feel like, that's with most addicts, alcoholics in my case, and from what my experience with people that I've worked with, and all that is, it really comes down to just that inability to unconditionally love yourself,
And that's
and learning
hard.
how to.
Not It's
Yeah.
hard for many, many, many people. We do not love ourselves,
Mhm.
and we do not accept ourselves. We're constantly judging and comparing. And it's hard for people
Yeah.
to truly love themselves. And I just wanted to tell you also that, your experience of wanting to end it and almost ending it, like that really took you to a place so deep and dark that
Mhm.
now I believe that your ability to be able to help people who have gone to that place, like only you can understand them,
Mhm.
and so you'll be able to help them. And so in some miraculous way, like because of the experience that you had to go through, you might be able to save many people.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah, through your
Yeah.
experience, because that's how it works. You cannot teach people
Mhm.
something you haven't done. It just can't
Exactly.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a beautiful gift in the end when you can really see it for what it is, and often when people are trying to recover, there's a lot of this victimhood. And you can
Oh
never
yes.
become free when you play that victim card. Like, oh, my mother died when I was 7. That's all I'm ever going to be, you
Yeah.
know? And we don't mean to do it, but we have to become aware that we're doing it.
Of course. Of course.
So it's
Yeah,
like
I
yeah, because we got the pain maybe once when we were 7, and we continued it for 17, 18 years, 20 years,
mhm.
30 years. But the thing only happened once in your life, and then you're perpetuating the pain. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and through that, and through the childhood that I went through, um in my teenage years, I always kind of had this deep sense of, you owe me one universe, right? So um
Ah,
that was that
ah,
mentality of, radical, and now, like, just having that mentality of radical self responsibility, right? Like, if I want to make a change, it's up to me. That
yeah,
doctor's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. My sister's not going to do it for me. I have to do it. So, and
yes,
it's just, like, at the bottom line, it all comes down to a choice. I
yes.
had to choose, hey, do I want to be in this dark place where I feel like crap all the time, and where
Mm.
I feel like taking my own life and, reliving all, the shame of my past? Or do I just want to live in gratitude, and just live each day by day, and be happy? Like I said, it's, it takes more energy to be in that dark place than it does to be in that happy place. So,
Oh, wow. I hope
at the
you're
end of
hearing
it.
that, listeners. It takes more energy to stay in that dark place than it is to be in the
Mhm.
happy place. So just if you're listening out there and you're suffering with addiction, or reach out and get help, because help is always there. I mean, it makes my heart so happy that Cody here has said, when he came to the house that he was staying after the hospital, he got in touch with people that showed compassion, and then he, that supported him. And it's there, it's available.
Yeah.
You got to
And
reach
you're not
out.
yeah, and you're not suffering alone. I mean, one of the really key pieces to all of this was realizing that I don't have to bear my burdens alone.
Yeah.
I've always, my whole life, I've been afraid to be vulnerable, afraid of people seeing me for the hurt that I have inside, right? Talk to somebody.
Yes. And we all like that. It's not just people who suffer with addiction.
Yeah.
So many of us walk around and we just ashamed of so many things. We don't want to talk about it, and it festers and it festers. And none of these things are really true. We're just making it up, because you are the most divine being ever to walk this planet.
Yeah.
But you just don't know.
We always make things bigger in our head than they actually are.
Correct. And that's why I love the breath so much, because when I started breathing techniques, I was very young, in my 20s. I was very lucky, fortunate that I was introduced to some breathing techniques, and it changed my whole life, because it taught me, it actually made me aware that, oh, I am not my thinking process, that, oh, my mind is jumping from here to there, to there, to there, to there. And none of that is true. So using the breath to bring me back to the present moment, it was always a bridge to help me. And now over all these many years, it becomes easier on a daily basis to be in the present moment, because that's how you change your life. When you can be in the present moment through awareness, you can change the pattern. Because like you might have noticed this, Cody, when you were struggling, you seemed that you were in a pattern you couldn't get out. You were just in this loop and there was no way out, okay? The moment we learn that we can bring ourselves to the present moment through awareness, we can watch that pattern. And then we can choose not to go and do that same thing over and over again. And that's the healing. I actually get goosebumps as I just said that, because it's so profound. It's so profound when you understand this. The pattern is there because we're all working from this unconscious pattern. It's like a computer. You load a program, and that's what the computer spits out. It's only the program. It's the same with us. In that first 6 to 7 years that we arrive here, the program is set. Scientists have already proven that. You're just going on autopilot, but there's one way out, and it's the breath, because the breath is the bridge to bring you to what's happening now. And when you see your thinking process, when you can step back and you use awareness, you get to choose. And the moment you choose something different, I guarantee it to you, your life will be different. As you're probably experiencing now, your life is different, right? Because you're choosing different things, because you have brought your awareness under your control. You're not allowing that pattern to run your life anymore. And so you get a different outcome. Yeah.
And what breathwork does too, daily breathwork practice and having knowledge of these techniques, right, is especially with addicts and people who struggle with mental illness, anybody for that matters, but I'm just using it as an example because that's what I'm involved with. But that's a superpower, being able to put yourself into a position between that stimulus and reaction, having that pause, right?
100%. You understand that you are the most powerful being on the planet. You just don't know it. Because you've given your power to your mind to run your life, and your mind knows nothing, because the mind only knows from the past. It doesn't know the future. It is very scared of the future. That's why we're afraid of death, because it doesn't know death. And it just, everything it uses from the past, and it's like all filed in a cabinet, and it tries to search when something is happening. Oh, where did that happen in the past? And how should I react? And what should I do? It doesn't know anything about now.
No, and when we don't properly release anything from the past, right? Like they get stored in our body at a cellular level, right? Correct. And that's why breathwork is so powerful, because it allows us to reconnect to our bodies and put definitions to put definitions to the sensations we feel. And then when we understand those sensations, then we can better regulate day to day. And I mean, that's just what it's all about. So
amazing. So Cody, now I'm very excited, because I see here on your Instagram page, and I'm going to put all Cody's information in the link. So if you want to contact him about any breathing techniques, he's local here in the Kelowna area where I live. So reach out to him. I wanted to ask you, where do you hold these classes? Like I know that you do breath circles. How does it work?
Yes, so I every other Saturday,
Mhm.
so this last Saturday, the 5th, and then coming up on the I apologize, I'll have to look at a calendar
Yeah,
here
no
really
worries.
quick.
All good.
And then on the 19th, every other Saturday, up leading up till Christmas, obviously with a break over Christmas, we're
Yeah.
doing group sessions at Conscious Collective Health. It's downtown just off of Ellis.
Okay.
And then every other Wednesday, starting this Wednesday on the 9th at Fluid Power Personal Training, just behind Waterscapes on Industrial Ave.
Wow, that's amazing. And you leading these sessions. And how big or small are the groups?
It really depends. I mean, we get groups from anywhere from 3 people to 12 people.
Okay.
I
And how do
also
people
lead.
register and pay and stuff like that? How does it work?
Yeah, exactly. If you just right now, obviously I'm in the early stages, so I'm doing the
Yeah,
website building and all that sort of stuff. So you can just message
nice.
me on Instagram at unbreakable.breath.
Yes.
Or you can find me on Facebook at Cody Jimmy Fisher.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's cool. And how long have you been doing the sessions now?
About 2 months now.
Yeah. And isn't it so empowering when we start to help others?
It is. And that's the thing too. When
100%.
I talk about taking away that deep-seated despair and hopelessness and loneliness, and that's not to say that my mind doesn't try to attack me still. Like this
Of
is
all of us.
I'm in constant maintenance still, and
Yes.
it's such a powerful thing too, to be able to do something towards my purpose to help others and provide that space for them. That fills me up right
Yes.
to the brim as well. So
Well, you know what they say is if you want to know anything, you have to teach it. So
exactly.
the more if you pick up when you're the student and the teacher, you're learning like so much quicker about a thing.
Mhm.
So it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. And I'm definitely going to come as well. I'm going to be away for a few weeks, but when I come back,
Mhm.
I'm going to contact you because I've experienced this particular breathing already that you teach, and I loved it. Absolutely
Mhm.
loved it. And it's like I was even thinking, oh, maybe I'll go and do the training with this guy as well. But I already have so many trainings about, with so many things. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, Deb, just enjoy it. You don't need to take the training. So I will definitely come and join your circle when I come back, because I really
Exactly.
enjoyed it a lot. Because my first breathing was also just with pranayama deep breathing, and also I have a kriya breathing that I learned many
Okay.
years ago. That's kind of like my go-to. But this particular
Mhm.
breathing, when I did it, it like you said, it kind of blows you away because it goes very deep into the subconscious, and you can go
Mhm.
there and repair so many things. And
Exactly.
it can
Yeah, and
really, and
that's
you touch yourself with your pure consciousness.
oh for sure, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. And just to let everyone know, the breathing technique that I like to use in my journeys is what they call the euphoric breath. So it's
Mm-hmm.
one deep breath into the belly, all open mouth, one deep breath into the chest. So a 2-part breath and just passive exhale. And
Yes.
it's
And you
hard
do that
work.
for what? For 20 minutes, or do you do the 1 hour?
About 45 minutes.
45 minutes. And I know that it's
Mhm.
led with music, right?
It is. Yeah. A
Yeah.
lot of time is spent putting together a good music with like, epic trailer, really uplifting
Yes.
with good subliminal messaging. And then, through the first 10 to 15 to 20 minutes,
Yeah.
that time is spent trying to get past the ego into the
It's kind of like
subconscious.
it's very uncomfortable. Like it's
It
like
can, it
because
can be, yeah.
because your mind is telling you what are you doing, like it's like blah blah blah,
Yeah,
it's like trying to keep its power, right? But then you just
exactly.
gently guide it through to keep going, and then boom, you switch out of
Yeah.
it, and then everything disappears, like all that stuff just goes
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, and it seems once you get past that ego, right? The ego that's trying to
Yeah,
keep you
it's the ego
safe,
mind.
right?
It's the
Exactly,
ego,
right?
and
And
it's protecting its power. That's all it's doing.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So yeah, so after about 50 or 10, 15, 20 minutes,
yeah,
you get into that transient, what we call transient hyperfrontality, right? The theta
yeah,
brainwave state when we have
yeah.
access to the subconscious. And, you know, I find for myself anyways, I feel like my body just starts breathing on its own.
Yeah.
And then you have access, and that's where I come in. I actively coach to push you guys through
because
that stage.
Sometimes
And then
people don't know how to do that. So it's good to have a coach there.
Exactly. Yeah. And then once we get in that stage, I come in with spoken words of inspiration to inspire you to let go of limiting beliefs, self-sabotaging thoughts, negative thought loops, you know, maybe anything that you need to let go of. And then we come in and we always finish it off with what I call energy bubbles. And we come in and we bring in gratitude and feelings of being free and inspiration, and work in some breath holds. And there's some breath holds and some screams in there, like, you know, a massive opportunities for some good energy release too. So yeah,
well, I'm excited because, like I said, you're so close to me, so I can actually come to one of your, probably I'd come like once every couple of weeks, because I really love it. And it's good that you're so close to me. So I'll definitely jump in and join you. When I get back, I'll reach out to you. So Cody, like, your story is so inspirational. It makes my heart so happy, you know, that there are many people around us that they continue to offer tools and techniques, and they offer love, and they offer, you know, compassion, and these people make such a difference in our lives. We never know, people that come into our lives and do these things, they never know the extent of what they are doing, really, because when I hear your story, and you've had people that has loved you unconditionally, and that has helped you come to this place, and now you are going to help all these other people that's going to come into your space. And I truly cannot think of anything better than that. It's truly a beautiful thing to see in life. I'm so grateful. Thank you for joining me tonight, and for sharing your story with us and with our listeners, and just for the beautiful work that you're doing, and the beautiful human being that you are, and that you didn't give up, you know, and that somehow you didn't give up, and somehow you chose. And how wonderful that is, that you're seeing that there's so much more to life than we can ever imagine. That our mind, our little mind, was just making up stories, that we are worthy of love. We are so worthy of love, and we are worthy of being here. We don't have to earn it. We are worthy because we are here.
No, that's our birthright.
Yes, exactly. So I will definitely be in touch with you myself, and I'll join one of those breathing groups. And I wish you so much, you know, love and blessings, and so excited to see how many people in Kelowna. Like, I love that, because of course I live in Kelowna. I love to do things for my community too. And it makes my heart so happy when there are people like you out there giving this technique, because there are a lot of people who are suffering from, maybe they're not drug addicts, but maybe they have other traumas that they're struggling with. So it doesn't matter what it is, the breath can truly help you. The breath is the bridge. It's going to bring you to now. You know, like, we can live without food for quite a long time. We can live without water for quite a while too, but we can't live without the breath. It's the first thing we do when we come into the world, and it's the last thing you're going to do when you go. The first breath in and the last breath out. And in between is what we call life. And so think about that, how close the breath is to you. It's so close to us. It's right under our noses, and we don't even know that we're breathing. And I love how in one of your posts on Instagram, you just talked a little bit about how the breath is also the only, it uses both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems. So you can manipulate the breath to change feelings, thoughts, emotions, physical being. Like, it's so powerful. So please, listeners, if you're living in Kelowna, you definitely have to get in touch with Cody, because you're going to love this experience. I did it, loved it, recommend it highly, and see what it can do for you. All right. Thank you, Cody, so much for making time for me. We will be in touch.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me on, Deb.
Welcome. Bye.